is what you probably are thinking about, which is what am I going to do for the next 4 years? Which college should I go to? But what I really want you to think about is what am I going to do for the next 40 years? And how am I going to succeed in life in those 40 years? Hopefully you'll do that at Mercy University. Not all 40 years. You need to get out within 10 or 12. I have to show you these slides because they're pretty. Admissions tells me I do, but well, we'll move on. Sports, clubs, campus stuff. Yeah, every school has that. I'm not going to waste my time with that. I'm going to spend my time with not so pretty slides. No, if it's easier to sit over there, whatever is easy. Whatever is easy. I'm going to focus in on the not so pretty slide. So bear with me, there'll be 2 not so pretty slides. They did the research on what it takes for a college to provide a life that's great. Not 4 years that's great, but to succeed in life thereafter. And there are about 6 different things. And what we did is we thought through what those 6 things are. But the most important, the critical one, was that you need professors who care to teach the student. And if that happens, you're twice as likely to succeed in life. Now, you might ask then, why are teacher rankings so low at these colleges? It's because many of the colleges, the professors, don't care. What do they get paid on? They'd better be bringing in millions of dollars in grants from the government, and they want to write cool books and get Nobel Prizes. Which one of those 3 things helps your career? None of them. If you're not a PhD, you can't help them in their research. Anyone here who's looking to get a PhD, please go back to lunch. That's not what we're here for. We're here for 4 great years so you can start a career. Now, remember I said there's 2 horrible slides? This is the other horrible slide. You don't have to worry too much about it, but this is the one slide that I'm going to take a little bit of time with, because every college lies, including Mercy. So let me explain the lie. They say our average class size is 20, or our faculty to student ratio is 1 to 20, 1 to 15. And it's true. That part is true, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to say it. But what they don't tell you is half that faculty is on sabbatical. Another quarter are writing books and not in the classroom and doing research. It doesn't matter how many faculty you have. What matters is who's teaching and how many people are they teaching. But even when you work all that out, if you want to see better, come down here. Come down here, don't worry about it. Please, come on down. Enjoy yourself. If I step on your toes, don't blame me. Don't worry. I'm not going to make this too complicated. These are all the classes that have between 2 and 19 people in them. 2 and 19. Quite a few classes. Which is why the average becomes 15, 12, etc. And there are only 7% of classes that have over 100. Only a very few. So it's not a problem, right? You're going to mostly hit this. No, you're not. Senior classes. Economics of Indonesia, that's 3 people. Econ classes have 150. Math classes have 180 on average. And those are the classes you have to take. You will see 28% of your classes are over 100 people. I was in a class with 320. So what really matters are the classes you see. And those classes are way, way too big. Now, if you want to go to sleep in the back of a room, like many of you are doing already here, feel free to go to those classes. But the way we work are 16, 20 people classes from day 1 in your first class. Brandon, in your first management class, first semester, how many people were in the room?
I think like 15.
Right? Small classes. This guy's going to help you get there. Figure out what to do. I can't pronounce my name, so I'll just go on to what I did. I went to a couple of universities, and I learned from them what not to do. I've worked in a whole bunch of countries. What I really want to talk to you about is the last part. I was born in Bangladesh, and my father left before I was born, a month before I was born, or was it 10 months before I was born? The story with my parents keeps changing, just kidding. Only a month before I was born, he left to go to London. He got a scholarship to go to London. Later in life, in my teens, I found out I was actually born in the slums. We had a corrugated iron hut, and you went to the bathroom in a hole in the back. If he hadn't gotten a scholarship, I would still be living in that way. I'm here because that scholarship changed my life, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to give you a few scholarships to change yours. I hope none of you live the way I used to live, but it'll still change yours, hopefully for the better. Now, you've heard this expression, right? If you do what you love, you won't have to work a day in your life. Who's heard that expression? Show of hands. Good, okay. So, what do most people love? Let's have the students stand, if you will. If you like sports. Anyone who likes sports? Stand. Now keep standing. Any other students who like music? Arts, just the students. Okay? Fashion? Okay, good. That's just about all of you. Is there anyone not standing as a student? No, so that's about all of you. Good. Have a seat. Those are the things you love. Parents, please stand if you have ever been head coach of anything above high school, college level, NFL, the NBA. Anyone? No. Anyone who's had a top 100 record in the 80s, because that's all I care about. In the 90s, in the 2000s, no one. Okay. Anyone who's designed a suit that I would actually wear? No? So let me see. All the kids love this stuff, but none of the parents work at this stuff. No one I know does either. The only person I know who works in sports is a guy who's 6'7" and lousy at basketball. And he's a buddy of mine who works for the NBA, but he's a lawyer at the NBA. Because that's how you get to the NBA. Well, that's how he did it anyway. So what happened? Most colleges say, come on down. We'll give you a degree in sports management. We'll give you a degree in fashion. Sure we will. That's what you love, right? You've heard it all on TikTok. Come on down and do it. And you'll end up with $46,000 a year starting salary. And that's only because, as of 15 years ago, it's illegal to give you zero starting salary, which is what they used to do. Students are being ripped off by universities offering bad degrees, and young people are being sold a false dream. That's the ex-Prime Minister of Great Britain. This is a pandemic that's worldwide, that's longer lasting than COVID. So what's a better way to think about a career? Well, college should help you find it and execute it. You should do what you love, yes, absolutely. But you should also do what the world needs. You should do that which you are really good at as well. Just because you think you can play baseball, sorry, I'm sure you're good. If you're anything like your brother, you're fabulous. But you also need to get paid to do that work. Right? You have to think about that. So, a young gentleman named Bezos happened to start Amazon, and another young gentleman named Buffett, who is also one of the top investors of all time, said, it's about balancing passion and realities, and your interest in what you want to do. Find what you're good at, and get there. And we will discover that together. I won't just say, hey, let's just do whatever you want. That doesn't work. But you're not going to do what I want. We're going to think about it. We're going to find the right thing. And so then you'll be able to do what not everybody wants to do necessarily, but you'll be able to do it well and make a lot of money from it. So what do? We find 32 motivated students. We throw in some collaborative learning, We have a very coaching style, but we're always focused on the career. Do you notice none of that says read really thick books? Because it does not matter to me. That's a group of, what year is that? Oh, they're juniors by now. Sorry, this has been here a while. That's the 32 that started 2 years ago. From Nigeria, Albania, Norway, Ukraine, Yemen, Norway, Denmark, Mexico, Pennsylvania even. We'll take locals. So, let me go through those 3 things. We find those 32 people, then we make sure that there's some collaborative learning. How do we do that? In your first year, you take 6 business classes. Most schools don't have any business classes. My daughter almost went to Berkeley until she found out the first 2 years there are no business classes at all. You don't do them till your junior year. It doesn't really make too much sense. What about if you don't like accounting and you want to do finance instead, right? Shouldn't you do it earlier? Yes, you should. That's why we do it earlier. We have 16 people in a class. That 32 is split up into 2 separate classes so that the professors can really coach the students. And we have a very multinational perspective. I told you about the students that we bring in from overseas, but also we take the students overseas. Where did you go?
Greece.
Greece, right? Greece. The year before that, you guys went to Spain. This next year, I'm taking the students to Portugal. They go and visit companies, 3, 4, 5 different companies in that country, learn how the work is done. That's how you learn about international business, not from a book. They also can spend a semester or a year in Manhattan, and as many people know, that's a whole different multinational experience in itself. And they can spend a year abroad. Where are you going, Dave?
I think Spain.
Spain? Madrid? Excellent. So they can go to Italy, Japan, Korea, wherever they want to go. Oh, there is one big difference between us and many of the other schools. Most schools you'll pay the tuition of the school that you're attending at full rate. There's no scholarship for when you go abroad. So you often pay $25,000, $30,000 for that semester. At Mercy, you pay whatever you're paying that semester at Mercy. We have a very coaching philosophy. As you can see, all the good-looking professors. Oh, look at that. He's here in person. He'll talk to you a little bit later at 12:30, Mark. We'll talk to you a little bit later. But there are quite a few different professors, and they've all worked at Fortune 500 type companies for at least 10, 20 years. Most colleges, the person goes through grad school, PhD, becomes a professor, and is still stuck in a book. We have people who are, Mark, he'll be too humble to tell you, but he was chief marketing officer at Denny's, right? He was a big executive in lots of companies, and so he can bring that to the classroom, and he'll explain all that in about 20 minutes. The third thing is that we're purely about career. That's all Mark and I talk about. We don't talk about our career. We talk about what student would do well in what career, and can we talk to them about that? What are they excited about? Who's come to us and said, hey, I really want to follow this person's footsteps. Can we guide them? And he'll explain how he does that. The average college grad in America makes $55,000 a year. These numbers are a little old. The average business honors grad makes $80,000 a year. But far more importantly, a couple of years down the road, they're already in the 6 digits. El-Hajj called me. He just got married. After 2.5 years, you'll like this. He was at KPMG, one of the big 4 accounting firms. That's the place where all accountants want to go. He was there for 2.5 years. He was up for promotion half a year early. Good for him. And I'm like, so congratulations, you're a manager already? He goes, no. StubHub called me, told me I could be senior accountant over there. He's 3 years out of college. He's senior accountant at StubHub. He can go to any concert he wants, and he gets paid more than he would get paid at KPMG. That's what it's all about, right? Focused on that process. So how do we do it? Ours is a very collaborative atmosphere. Not only is it the 32 students that start, but there are another 100 students in the program, right? The students interact with the class above you, the class below you, even two classes above you, right? And they learn from one another. Where did you get an internship? How did you get that internship? But they also get taken care of by the alumni network. And Mark's going to talk more about that also in about 20 minutes' time. But everybody, from the professors to the staff, is all centered around how do we get your career off the ground. Aiden, how many weeks was it into school that you did your first sort of LinkedIn or resume process?
Probably first week.
First week of college. You had better be on LinkedIn and you'd better have a resume that you can send somebody. There are some students who have 3, 4 internships by the time they're done with their first year. And we'll go into that as well. Now, why do we do it this way? When I was in college, my next door neighbor was a geography major. My other neighbor was pre-law. I had nothing to talk to them about in business at all. We hung out, we were friends, yeah, sure. But do you want to practice baseball with me? I can't throw a ball. Or do you want to practice baseball with other people who play baseball? So in the same way, shouldn't you want to be closer with other people who are talking business, thinking business, discussing what happened recently in a particular company? That will enhance your abilities. And that's what we do. Teamwork makes it work much better, makes you much better. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. This is 4 of the students in the class above these 2 guys. That's Samaya. And actually, this is a year old. They've only got next year's summer internship. PwC is another one of the big 4 accounting firms. But I know these 3 accounting students already have 2026. That's a year and a half from now. Internships already set. This is your year. Sophia is on her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She did Spectrum in Manhattan over the summer, and now she's working for NBC Universal. She's been here 15 months. She's on her 5th paid internship, as are many of the others. Right? Justin just got another internship for next summer. That's 2. I don't know how he's going to do both internships next summer, but he got 2. Also, our graduates are at Google, Morgan Stanley, all the flashy firms, just like any other school. That's true. The difference is the percentage of our students. If we have 32 students, we have about 8 in accounting, 8 in finance, 8 in marketing, 8 in data, etc. When Morgan Stanley comes to me and says, hey, I'd like 3 kids, or JP Morgan, I'll use the example from last week, when they said, hey, what was it, like, I want 4 kids, I was able to give them 3, because I had to save a few others for Morgan Stanley and Citibank, etc. Right? Otherwise, if all of them went to JP Morgan, did you have the interview already? Excellent. So that's just one of the kids who did. If all of them go to one company, then they won't come back to me for the other. But what about schools that have 400 finance majors? JP Morgan's not coming and saying, hey, give me 100. They're going to say the same thing, give me 2 or 3. And so yeah, the top 20, 30 will get great jobs, and then what? On the left there you see a bunch of students got together. They're at Google, NBC, Sesame Street, Disney. They got together and talked with the current marketing students to give them a little leg up. And Mark was there, so he's going to give you a little bit more of that information later. I'll tee you all of these up, right? You got them all, right, Mark? But at the end of the day, what matters is the bottom line. It's not just how much fun school's going to be because you're close to all these people. It's about how much money you're going to make, but also how much are you going to pay for that right. I've already talked to you about all the great companies they work for. But let's talk about how much it costs. It's hard to see. The second one there is college tuition. It's the second most increased index of all. The most was hospital and hospital services. Elon Musk says an 18-year-old finds it difficult to get a $10,000 loan, but a school will give him $100,000, no problem. That's crazy. Parents, on average, just parents, not students, just parents, borrow $67,000 to go to NYU. It just doesn't make sense. And we think through how to fix that here at Mercy all the time. How do we get the costs down? Now it is cool, it's really cool to say that you went to a brand name school. I went to Stanford, I went to Penn, reasonably cool schools. Can I walk outside that door and say, hey, somebody give me a $400,000 job because I went to Stanford? It doesn't work that way. I have to walk into the interview, I've got to go through that process. All that it impresses is your neighbor. Now, at some of those schools or some of the other schools that are nearby like Fordham and Iona, tuition is $50,000, $60,000 a year. Now Mercy's still more than a SUNY, let's say, but after scholarships, those schools come down to maybe $25,000 a year. That's $100,000 for 4 years, plus room and board is $23,000 on average a year. That's another $100,000. Sorry, $94,000 if you want to be accurate. Over another 4 years. $200,000. Mercy's room and board, do you know what it is?
Much lower.
Much lower. 14 something?
Yeah, it's like that. About
14,000. Right? Because we make sure, and I've had countless people say, okay, and then how much is the food? Because they assume that's just the room. No, room and board is 14. Now, last two slides. Earlier this year, we had an academy, it's called the Summer Leadership Academy. We had 360 people apply to it, and 120 people visited. And from those, we picked 16 to come back to the honors program. I have to keep another 16 spots for you lucky people. So where are you in this process? Approximately 240 people, roughly, apply afterwards. I've done 60 interviews already. We're halfway through. There are 16 people. How many people showed up today? 16. So 16 of you should be here. And of those 16, I'm hoping 8 of you will say, you know what, Wazi, you are a really good looking guy. I'm coming to this school.
We got to vote on that one, wait a minute.
I'm not doing any votes, I've got voted out. We already put the good looking guys up there, that was you. Right, so we're hoping that 8 of you will say, you know what, this place makes sense to me. If it doesn't, that's fine. But 8 is what we're looking for. And it's kind of like a marriage, right? Both sides sort of have to like each other. So, we know we like you, that's why you're here. Now you have to say whether you like us. So, just as a summary of what we went through. Clearly, a place like Harvard or Brown has the brand recognition that Mercy does not necessarily, but if JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, KPMG, and all the flashy brand companies come here, isn't that what matters? It doesn't, your neighbor, unless your neighbor is about to pay you $200,000 a year to hang out, doesn't matter. It's who pays you money that matters, right? Now, those great schools have great jobs, but only for the top 20, 30, 40%. My best friend from when I was 12 years old, his son went to Penn, graduated a year and a half ago. He still blames me for letting him go, because my friend is fairly rich, and he paid every single dime. And he told me how much it was, $83,000 a year. And his son does not have a job yet. And I said, now, the alumni network is something that many schools tout. When I came to New York, I had the Stanford and the Wharton alumni network, a good 20, 30,000 people in flashy jobs. Number of people who replied to me from all the emails and phone calls, 0, exactly 0. Why? Because somebody else is going to call them. There's 10,000 of us. But with us, there are a couple of thousand. And that couple of thousand, I probably talk to 200-300, Mark talks to 200-300 a year. And the other professors talk to quite a few. And the students interact with the rest all the time. That's what we've ingrained in them. They're hearing it from me now, and they know this is what I care about the day they graduate. They know this, and they're happy to do so. They want to do so, because that's how they got their cool jobs, right? Class size, if you don't mind 300 people, enjoy yourself. I like to actually interact with my students. Most professors will tell you that they're there to just give the information and go off and do research. And we're about a career-oriented process, not just academic learning. Yes, you'll learn a lot. You have to learn the stuff so you can do the work. Absolutely. But do the work is the important part. In my 5.5 years in undergrad and grad school, the number of times I came up to the front and gave a presentation, in total, 0. Why? Because you can't have 100 people come up to the front and give 10-minute presentations. You guys want to tell me how many presentations you give a semester?
Probably like 15, 20.
A semester. That's 1 a week in one class or another. Because that's what you do in business. You had better be great at it. And the cost, well, we talked about the cost. In summary, our goal is to transform your life. Not just make it better, not just give you a good college experience. It's a collaborative learning experience with a coaching philosophy that is completely career focused. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some substantial scholarships along the way so you'll have success in and out of college. That is my email address. That is my phone number. I am 10 seconds ahead of schedule. Thank you.